Welcome back. So, in our first two explainers, we really laid out the strategic blueprint for an AI management system. We figured out our context, we set up our plans, but now we build the engine and we turn it on. This is that crucial bridge from just planning to actually doing. We're covering two powerhouse clauses today: Clause 7, support, and Clause 8, operation. All right, let's get right into it. Up until this point, we've basically been the architects, drafting the blueprints, making the big plans. Well, today we're putting on our hard hats. We're stepping out of the world of flowcharts and policy documents and getting into the nitty-gritty of resourcing, training, and running the day-to-day processes that are going to bring your AI management system to life. So here's the game plan for today. It's pretty straightforward. First, we're going to build out the support systems. These are the absolute foundational pillars from Clause 7 that hold everything else up. Then, once that foundation is rock solid, we're going to fire up the operational engine. We'll look at the core processes in Clause 8 that make everything run, including that really critical risk management cycle. Let's get to it. Okay, first up, Clause 7. I want you to think of this clause as building the engine room. You can't just generate power out of thin air, right? Before you can do anything else, you need the infrastructure, you need the fuel, and you need the crew all in place. Clause 7 is all about establishing those essential pillars that are going to support your entire AI management system. And the standard breaks this down into these 5, let's call them non-negotiable pillars. You need the right resources. You need people with the right competence. You need system-wide awareness, a solid plan for communication, and of course, a process for controlling all your documented information. I mean, you could have the best AI model on the planet, but if your team doesn't have the competence to manage it, you're going absolutely nowhere. Without these 5 pillars firmly in place, the whole system is in danger of collapsing. So when the standard talks about resources, what does that really mean? Well, it's way more than just having a budget. It's the whole package. It's having the right people with the right skills on your team. It's making sure you have the technology you need, the computing power, the software, the right kind of data environments. It's really the total commitment you need to not only launch your system, but to keep it running and getting better over time. Now, this is a really interesting and important distinction the standard makes, the difference between competence and awareness. Let me put it this way. Your top data scientist might have the competence to build an incredibly complex algorithm, no question. But do they have the awareness of your AI policy to know they shouldn't use a certain type of biased data to train it? See the difference? One is pure technical skill. The other is about knowing the rules of the road, and you absolutely have to have both. And this is why having a formal plan is so critical. AI systems don't just exist in a bubble. You've got to define exactly what you're going to communicate. Say, a sudden dip in a model's performance. When are you going to communicate it? Who needs to know? Is it just the tech team, or does the legal department need a heads up? And how are you going to tell them? This isn't just about being a good communicator. It's essential for maintaining transparency and trust, both inside your company and out. All of this, the planning, the communicating, it all leads us to the final pillar of support, documentation. Now, I know, it doesn't exactly sound exciting, but trust me, this is one of the most critical parts of the standard. This isn't about creating a bunch of bureaucracy. It's about creating proof. Your documented information is the official, auditable record that your system is designed, controlled, and operating exactly as you intended. So, the bottom line is, you have to manage the entire life cycle of this information. You create the document, making sure it's all properly identified and reviewed. You maintain it so it doesn't get outdated, and you control access to it. That last step is so important. It makes sure your sensitive AI documents, like your risk assessments, are available to the people who need them, and just as importantly, protected from those who don't. Okay, the engine room is built, the crew is trained, and our logs are all ready to go. It is time to flip the switch. We are now moving on to Clause 8, Operation. This is it. This is the moment where all the planning and support we've just spent all this time setting up finally gets put into motion. Clause 8.1 is basically your operational checklist. It asks, did you actually implement the processes you laid out in your plan? Did you set up strict criteria for them? Are you actively controlling them? What about your external providers? Are you managing them? And circling right back to what we just talked about, are you keeping records to prove it all happened? It's the direct, no-nonsense execution of your plan. This leads us to a really critical question. An AI system is not a static thing, right? It's operating in a dynamic world where risks can pop up and change all the time. So how does the standard make sure you're actually managing this stuff in real time? Well, the answer is right here. in clauses 8.2 and 8.3. This is what I like to call the operational heartbeat of your AI management system. See, risk management isn't some task you do once when you're planning. No way. It is a continuous, living cycle of assessment and treatment that has to stay active for the entire life of the system. The standard splits this cycle into two connected actions, as you can see right here. On one side, you've got AI risk assessment. That's the detective work, finding, analyzing, and evaluating risks. And this needs to happen regularly or anytime something big changes. Then, on the other side, you have AI risk treatment. That's where you actually put your plan into action to deal with those risks, and then double-check that your fixes actually worked. And this is what that process really looks like in practice. It's a constant loop. You assess for risks, you treat the ones you find, you verify that your treatment was effective, and then you do it all over again. You repeat the cycle constantly to make sure your system stays strong and resilient against whatever new threats come along. And here it is, the connection that ties everything together. Every single risk assessment and every single risk treatment action you take must be recorded as documented information. Why? Because you have to remember, from an auditor's point of view, if it isn't written down, it never happened. This record isn't just paperwork. It is your objective proof that you are managing your AI responsibly. So let's just zoom out for a second. You can really see how perfectly these pieces fit together. Clause 7, support, provides that solid foundation, and Clause 8, operation, builds the engine right on top of it. Together, they are the powerful duo that transforms your AI management plan from just a document on a shelf into a living, breathing, and controlled system inside your organization. Which really just leaves us with one final crucial question for you to think about. Looking at your own organization, your resources, your documentation, your operational controls, is your engine room truly ready for an inspection?